What up, y'all? How we doing? Oh, yay. Great, let's go. Hey, man, I'm so excited tonight. I love talking about the dating series. So like Myron said, we're talking about dating and marriage and boys and girls. It's fantasy, finding real love in a fake world. And to start us off tonight, we went onto West Lib's campus. Emily Rudy went around and interviewed some people and asked them, hey, what does your fantasy girl look like? And take a look at what their responses were.
Hey Wasters, we're kicking off a new series tonight. So today I'm walking around campus trying to figure out what you guys want in your significant others. What's your dream girl? What's she got going on?
Well,
oh my God.
Someone that is very kind-hearted, is sweet, loving of others.
Mine?
Yes.
Number one has to like me back. That's number one. Blondes ain't bad, brunettes we all right with, and redheads, sure.
My dream girl is her. Not you. Her.
Okay, my dream girl is basically the exact opposite of my current girl. Yeah, there you go.
I'm gonna buy you flowers.
He's never bought me flowers.
She gotta be athletic. I'm not gonna lie to you.
I guess my dream girl was like Zendaya. Like I love Zendaya.
Yeah,
Yes.
me too. Tell me about your dream girl.
I like a girl that's small waist, cute face.
With a big bang?
Yeah, with a big bang.
Big thing is personality. Personality and smile.
Dream girl, well, she has to have an absolute wagon on her. Talking about, it's gotta be a wagon that should have been on the Oregon Trail. All right, that's the first and foremost. Like, when you see her, she walks through the room, you're like, dang, boy, she dang.
She's gotta be rich. I mean, I want to be the woman in the relationship, if you ask me, because I just want to stay home, just worry about cleaning. I don't have to do any of that stuff. Especially, I just have time to go golfing.
Yeah.
A fit person. But yeah, mostly just the wagon.
Let's give it up for Ryan.
Man, I love the wagon guy. Man, he knows what he's looking for, doesn't he? Hey, so we're going to start off with a little game. So I've asked Andrew and Carlos to come up and be our contestants. So they're going to be competing against one another. Gabby and Kaylin are going to be my coaches or my helpers. So if you guys step up, one of you step up to each box, please, on either side, facing each other, just like you're squaring off. Okay, so actually face that way. What they're going to do, and I didn't tell them what the rules are, so what we're going to do, it's a simple game. The goal of the game is to find the right item and get it out of the box and be first, right? Find the right item, get it out of the box, be first, okay? And so your coach is going to give you a piece of advice about that item that you're looking for, and then we're going to start, all right? And now, the girls are going to be holding a sign showing you, audience, what the item that they're supposed to find in the box is. But please don't yell it out because they only want to go off of the coaching from their coach, right? You get it? You can only pull one item out of the box. You get it? Only one item, all right? Okay, go ahead, coaches, give them your advice real quick. Carlos said, in Espanol. What? All right, are you guys ready? 3, 2, 1, go! All right. Thank you, very good. Okay, let's go Carlos. Carlos, did Carlos get the right item? Show him what you got. What is he supposed to get?
Oh, it's not a chicken.
That's a chicken, bro.
It is the right thing. I just wrote the wrong thing.
Oh, Gabby wrote the wrong thing. All right, it's like she wrote the wrong thing and he interpreted the wrong thing the right way. All right, so Carlos. Yeah, she said it in Spanish. So Carlos, tell us, how did you find the right thing?
She said it.
Because she told you what you were looking for. So would you say that you knew what you were looking for? Yeah. Okay, very good, cool. Thank you. Put your item back in the box. Stay there. All right, Andrew, did Andrew get the right item? What did you get?
I got a cup.
Boo! Thanks. Boo hiss. What is he supposed to get? A safety pin. You failed. Andrew, why did you not get the right item?
She came up to my ear and said,
I have no instructions to give you, and that was it.
Wow.
So I got the cut.
Wow. Great coaching, Caitlin. Thank you. Really. And so would you maybe say that you did not know what you were looking for?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think you did. Okay, cool. We're going to try one more round. We'll see if you can do better this time. Put your item back. All right. Coaches, do you want to come and give your second instruction to your contestants? All right. I hope you wrote the right thing this time, Gabby, all right? Okay, guys, are you ready? Yeah. Are you ready? All right, 3, 2, 1, go!
We won.
I think Andrew got it out first, all right? All right, so, crowd, what does Andrew have? What is that? Shaving cream?
Shaving cream.
Did he get what he was supposed to get? Did he get the right item? Woo! Good job, dude. Proud of you. How did you get the right thing?
She told me what it was.
So you knew what you were looking for.
I did,
Very good, very good, very good, very good. All right, did Carlos get the right thing? No. Carlos, why didn't you get the right thing?
She told me ball, so I got the ball.
She told you ball, so you got the ball. So you were looking for, what was he supposed to get? A clock. Okay, so you received bad coaching and you were looking for the wrong thing then. Very bad coaching. Okay, cool. Well, the rules are made up and the points don't matter. So Andrew, you win. And thank you guys very much. Get out of my way. No, just kidding. Thanks, guys. Give him a hand.
Yeah, you tried to tell me there's peanut butter in that box.
That was Gabby. There's peanut butter in that box. Andrew's allergic to peanut butter. I didn't plan that. All right, so what was the point of this game? Why the heck did we just do that silly game that was, kind of weird, kind of silly? The point of that game was to point out two of the mistakes that we tend to make whenever we are looking at entering into dating and eventually into marriage. Two mistakes. And the first one was demonstrated by Andrew first. And the first mistake that we make when we enter into dating is we don't know what we're looking for. We go in, we start looking, and we don't know what we're looking for. And so you think things like, oh, well, I'll know it when I find it. I'll know her whenever I see her, like there will be this angelic light and sound, and I'm just going to know her when I see her, right? But that's not true. Or hey, like, I'll just go for whatever grabs my attention. But that didn't work out very well for Andrew either, did it? So we don't know what we're looking for. The second mistake that we make when we're entering into dating is that we're looking for the wrong thing. And often that happens because we got bad coaching. Bad coaching. Gabby, bad coaching. So we're told the wrong thing about what we're looking for, so we end up looking for the wrong thing. We get coaching from places like Hollywood and celebrities who, can we agree, are the worst at marriage? Like, those people are terrible at marriage. Oh, I will say it again. They're terrible at marriage. Or we get coaching from social media where people who have no idea what they're talking about are given a platform to go and post their opinion and act like an expert. And we read it, we're like, oh, this 8-year-old posted something on TikTok, so it's true. We're looking for the wrong thing. So the mistakes, we don't know what we're looking for, or we're looking for the wrong thing. And those lead us into broken and bad dating relationships, and they can eventually lead us into broken marriages that lead to divorce. Did you know that 50% of the marriages in America end in divorce? Around 50%. It's a lot. It's a lot of marriages that end in divorce. Now, to be fair, every marriage ends, and it can either end in one of two ways, either divorce or death, right? That's pretty much how all marriages end, divorce or death. But I guarantee you that when you envision your perfect wedding, and that day when you're standing up, you found the perfect dress, and you're looking into your man's eyes, or your woman's eyes, and you didn't find the perfect dress if that's you, but you know what I'm saying. And you got all your friends and your family there watching you, and you're making these vows. I guarantee you in that image, your vow doesn't say, till divorce do us part. It says, till death do us part. You want that fantasy marriage that only ends in death. Nobody's aiming for divorce. So let me tell you another statistic. Do you know what percentage of marriages between a man and a woman who are each fully dedicated to God, what percentages of those marriages end in divorce? 0%. And I'll take it even further. There has never been a divorce between two people whose hearts are fully submitted and dedicated to God. And so if you're looking for that forever, if you're looking for that marriage that only ends in death, then maybe what are you looking for? You're looking for a partner who's fully submitted to Christ. And tonight, we're going to talk about how do we find that fantasy girl that fits that picture, that's going to bring about that marriage in my life for the guys. We're going to talk about how do I find that fantasy girl. And so, but I want you to listen up. Like, guys, this message is for you. I want you to find her. So this message is for you, but girls, don't check out on me, because here's the deal. Like, this is for you too, because maybe this will give you an image of what to look at and say, to compare yourself and say, am I doing this? Are these things in my life? And if not, can I grow in these ways? Because I want you to be her. I want you to be the fantasy girl for the fantasy guy. And if you're in a dating relationship, you may be tempted to check out and be like, I already got her, bruh. We're already together, we good. But I want you to look at this as an opportunity to have a new lens through which to evaluate your relationship and to identify, is this person the fantasy girl? Is he the fantasy guy? And maybe if not, to break up. Or maybe if so, you recognize, wow, she really is the fantasy girl, and I'm gonna make this thing work. All right? So that's what we're gonna talk about. What traits and characteristics does the fantasy girl have? Because the question we want to answer is, what does she look like? What am I looking for? Because when you know what you're looking for, you can find it. These guys demonstrated that. When you know what you're looking for, you can find it. And so where we're going to look for the answer to this question is in the book of Proverbs in the Bible. And honestly, the answer to the question is very short. What does the fantasy girl look like? The answer is that the fantasy girl is a girl whose heart is fully submitted to God. The fantasy girl is a girl whose heart is fully submitted to God. Now, that's the answer, but instead of dropping the mic, saying goodnight, and walking off the stage, I'm going to give you a little bit more detail, something a little bit more to work with. And so we're going to look at Proverbs chapter 31. Proverbs is a book in the Bible. It's written in the Old Testament, which is the part of the Bible that was written before Jesus came into the picture. All right, and what Proverbs specifically is a book of wisdom. It's full of wise sayings and wise advice for people who are to apply in their lives following God. Okay, Proverbs, book of wisdom. And this particular chapter, Proverbs 31, is interesting because what we're going to read tonight is a passage called the wife of noble character. We're looking for the wife of noble character, the fantasy girl, right? And you would think that in the Old Testament, we're looking at the Bible, it's probably some old man who's talking about who the ideal woman is and what her place in the home should be and what she should be cooking for dinner. But that's not who wrote this. This is actually wisdom from a mother to her child who was to be king someday. And she's writing to her son, or this was her wisdom to her son, saying, this is what I want you to find in a woman who will be by your side when you are ruling someday. So this is advice from a mother to her son. And in this passage, Proverbs chapter 31, we're going to find, what we're going to look for is 4 signs. What we're going to pull out is 4 signs that her heart is fully submitted to Christ. What the fantasy girl looks like, 4 signs that her heart is fully submitted to Christ. Okay, so we'll jump in, and this starts out with, it says that a wife of noble character, who can find? She is worth far more than rubies. So that's just kind of laying the groundwork. Rubies are things that royalty has, like red diamonds. You and I are not wearing rubies. Like, this is something of incredible value, and says that a wife of noble character is worth far more than rubies. And the rest of the chapter that we're going to read is going to go on to describe what is this wife of noble character look like? What are the things that define her? What are the traits and characteristics we see in her? Man, it's windy up here. Okay, so we're going to look for our first sign that her heart is fully submitted to Christ. And it says this: she selects wool and flax and works with eager hands. Wool and flax. Flax is just another material for making textiles or fabrics. She's weaving. She's creating this material at her home. So she works with eager hands. She's like the merchant ships, bringing her food from afar. She gets up while it is still dark. She provides food for her family and portions for her servant girls. She considers a field and buys it. Out of her earnings, she plants a vineyard. She sets about her work vigorously. Her arms are strong for her tasks. She sees that her trading is profitable, and her lamp does not go out at night. She makes linen garments and sells them, and supplies the merchants with sashes. She watches over the affairs of her household and does not eat the bread of idleness. And so the first sign that we're looking for, men, that you're looking for in the fantasy girl that shows her heart is fully submitted to God, is this. It's that the fantasy girl is disciplined. What we see in this passage is that this woman is working hard. She gets after it. She disciplines herself to get out of bed in the morning before the sun even rises, to prepare food for her family, and not only for her family, for her servants. So she is disciplining herself to get out of bed, to work hard, to provide for her family, to provide for others, her servants. And it also says in here that she provides for the needy. She extends her hands to the needy and she opens her arms to the poor. She's working hard to provide for those in need. This woman is working hard. And so what do we look for? How do we see discipline in a 21st century woman? You know, when she doesn't have a household to manage, when she's in her 20s and she's in college or she's in the early part of her life, how do we see discipline? How do we see this hard work ethic? And the question that I want to present is, do you see her continuously making excuses for laziness or unpreparedness? Is she making excuses for laziness or unpreparedness? Is she tend to flake out or back out of her plans with friends and say that because she has a headache, but she actually has a headache every other day, and you know that it's just a headache, right? It's not real. Does she flake out on her friends, and what really the real motivation is she's just not feeling it? She just doesn't want to go. She wants to stay at home, lay in bed. Or do you see her constantly going to the professor and begging for an extension on that assignment, or begging to get the test rescheduled because she slept or because her alarm didn't go off again? Is she making excuses for laziness or unpreparedness? Now, discipline looks like when she says she's a Christian, you see in her life that she disciplines herself to spend time with God. She disciplines herself to study the Bible and get to know His Word better and get to know Him better. And she disciplines herself in accountability. She has friends, other girls who know Jesus and love her, and she confesses her sin to them. And she lets them hold her to a higher standard. She disciplines herself because she's truly the only one who can bring that to the table. And I think my favorite part of this passage is the fact that this woman is creating economic value in her town. Did you see it as we read? Did you hear what she does? She provides, she considers the field and buys it, and out of her earnings, she plants a vineyard. She sees that her trading is profitable, and later it says that she makes linen garments and sells them and supplies the merchants with sashes. She creates goods for the town to be trading and brings economic value to the town. What I think is so cool about this is that, honestly, the 21st century women's power movement is telling you, women, that you need to get out there and you need to scream, look at me, look at me, look at me, look at what I've done. But this woman doesn't do that. Her work speaks for itself. She puts in the work, and the value she creates speaks for itself. I like the way that the lady who owns my gym said it to me one day. She said, hey, work hard in silence and let results be your voice. That's what this woman looks like. The fantasy girl is disciplined. So let's get back into our text. Let's look for our second sign that her heart is fully submitted to Christ. And it says in verse 26, she speaks with wisdom and faithful instruction is on her tongue. So the second sign is that the fantasy girl is wise. The fantasy girl is wise. What does it look like to be wise? Well, first of all, does she seek to listen first and respond second? The Bible, James, the brother of Jesus, said, hey, you should be quick to listen, slow to speak, and slow to anger. Does she listen first and respond second? When she is confronted with adversity, with someone, maybe an argument, does she lash out in self-defense and not think about what's going on under the surface? Or does she listen and seek to understand, seek to see what's going on behind the surface, and then take that information and consider it, and then patiently and winsomely respond? Or when she's helping somebody, does she seek to give them the answer and just get her word in, or does she ask for more detail, understand their heart, and then provide advice after fully understanding? So does she listen first and respond second? Does she control her emotions, or do her emotions control her? Is she the girl that when she's having a bad day, everybody's going to know it, and everybody around her is going to have a bad day once they're done being around her? She's gonna bring that emotion. She's gonna make sure you're aware of how she feels. Or when she's overwhelmed with emotion, who does she turn to? Where does she turn to? Does she turn to self-care or soul care? Does she turn to Netflix and eating ice cream and staying at home, skipping out on meeting up with friends, or skipping out on class, or skipping out on work, calling in sick when she's not sick because she's just not feeling it? Or does she turn to friends and confess the way that she's feeling and ask for prayer? Does she turn to quiet time with God in the Bible and seek that he would fill her heart? Does she recognize the emotions that are going through her mind, because emotion is natural? But does she recognize it and capture it and ask, what is this emotion telling me? And what am I supposed to do with it? Does she control her emotions, or do her emotions control her? And finally, does she gossip? Ladies, what are you saying about your friends behind their back? Are you saying encouraging things? Are you building them up? Or are you tearing them down? Does it make you feel better about yourself? And or even more on accident, like, are you sharing someone's secrets under the guise of saying it's for their good, or some sort of small lie that you tell yourself to get away with it? Guys, if she's gossiping about her friends to you, then she'll be gossiping about you to her friends. Watch out for gossip. So the fantasy girl is wise. Let's look for our third sign, and I love this one. It's so powerful. It says her husband has full confidence in her and lacks nothing of value. She brings him good, not harm, all the days of her life. And later it says her husband is respected at the city gate, where he takes his seat among the elders of the land. What this is saying is that the fantasy girl empowers her husband. It said she brings him good, not harm. This means she encourages her husband. She builds up his confidence. She boosts his masculinity. She doesn't tear it down. I saw this in a friend one time, or a story about a friend that he was in a fight with his girlfriend, and I think he called his mom, and his girlfriend goes, "You call yourself a man? You call your mom? You're not a man." That's what it looks like to tear down his masculinity. No, she builds up his masculinity, and we see that her husband is respected at the city gate. So the city gate in an ancient Israelite city was the center of social life and of commerce. And so because that's where the merchants would come in and out of the city with their goods that they would come and sell in the city. That's where that people would come to hang out because they're going shopping, right? People would gather. That's where leadership would gather, and that's where the general social life of the city was. And it says that he's respected at the city gate, where he takes his seat among the elders of the land. That means the leaders. So that this husband is a leader in his town. And so because the fantasy woman, because this wife of noble character empowered her husband, he's been successful, we can assume, in fatherhood. He's been successful in his work, and he's been successful in leadership because he's been empowered by a noble woman on his side. We don't see this displayed very well on TV, in sitcoms like this. It's pretty innocent, but often you see the wife is like the one who's got it together, but she's always rolling her eyes at her husband or putting him down, and he's the slapstick character of the show. But I don't think that's what the fantasy girl looks like. She builds up her husband, and she encourages him. And the coolest part, this is why I love this passage. You're probably like, why does he think this part's so cool? At the very end of this, it also says, give her the reward she has earned, and let her works bring her praise at the city gate. And so where her husband is sitting amongst the leaders and amongst his peers, her works are known and praised. And so, again, the women's power movement tells you to empower yourself. You don't need no man. Empower yourself. But no, this woman empowers her husband, and he in turn empowers her. And they are known at the city gate, at the center of culture, as the goals couple, the it couple. It's not a competition of who can be better or who can be more successful. It's a mutually beneficial relationship where the husband and the wife are empowering and building one another up and bringing each other success. You don't need to empower yourself. You need to empower your husband. And I think that the question that follows is like, okay, she empowers her husband. So how do I figure this out before I marry her? Well, I would say you don't even need to be dating her to figure this out when you're looking for the fantasy girl. The question is, how does she treat her friends? Is she elevating her friends? Is she empowering her friends? Is she making herself less so that they can shine more? That's what you're looking for. That's what a woman who empowers, she's going to empower her husband. And that's what our third sign is. And our fourth sign that this girl has a heart submitted to Christ is actually more about what this passage doesn't say than what it does say. Because this passage talks about her wisdom. We talked about it. Talks about her wisdom. It talks about her discipline. It talks about how she serves others and empowers her husband and empowers the people around her. But what it doesn't talk about is how beautiful she is. It doesn't say that she's a slay queen and that everywhere she walks through the streets that the men are bowing down to her and watching her as she walks away, checking out that wagon. In fact, the only thing it says about beauty in the passage is this at the end. It says, charm is deceptive and beauty is fleeting, but a woman who fears the Lord is to be praised. See, she recognizes that, and it doesn't say, we're not indicated that this woman's not beautiful. But she recognizes that beauty is a depreciating asset. Age gets us all, and gravity always wins. And so she recognizes that beauty is a depreciating asset, and her worth and her value doesn't come from what she looks like, but from who her creator is, that her dignity is God-given. And so that's what the fourth sign of the fantasy girl is, that the fantasy girl understands her dignity. And guys, when you're looking for the fantasy girl, let's be honest, it's natural to be attracted to girls. Like, God created us to be attracted to girls. It's natural born and hardwired into us because woman is the ultimate beauty in creation. She's the most beautiful thing that God created. So you're supposed to be attracted to her. That's a good thing. And so it's very clear that attraction, physical attraction, is important. But what this passage makes clear is that it's not ultimate. And so when you're looking for the fantasy girl, yeah, physical attraction is important, but it is not ultimate. And girls, ask yourself, how am I honoring my own dignity? Is the way that I dress tempting people to worship me or leading people to worship my Creator? Is my Instagram showing this much skin and this much clothes? Or am I displaying Christ with the way that I present myself and carry myself in my daily life? Am I showing that my dignity comes from who created me and not how I look? And guys, another question, how does she act around other men? Does she display the need for their attention? Does she display that she gets her validation from being adored by men? If she does, then she's not the fantasy girl. Not never, but not now. So the fantasy girl understands her dignity. And so that's it. Those are the four signs that we're looking for in the fantasy girl. That's how we know that her heart is fully submitted to Christ. The fantasy girl is disciplined. The fantasy girl is wise. The fantasy girl empowers her husband, and the fantasy girl understands her dignity. And this is, so going back to the two mistakes that these guys made up here on stage, because I told their coaches to make them make those mistakes. Not knowing what you're looking for, or looking for the wrong things. And here's the deal, when you know what you're looking for, if we know that this is what the fantasy girl looks like, when you know what you're looking for, you can find it. And this is what the fantasy girl looks like. And I've actually been intentionally using the wrong word during this message. Because this fantasy girl, she's not a little girl at all. She's a woman. Mature. She is a grown woman, mature in discipline, mature in wisdom, mature in building others up around her, mature in working hard, mature in controlling her emotions and not letting her emotions control her. This is not a little girl. See, I know a little girl. I know this 4-year-old girl who I call my best friend. And she's the daughter of a good friend of mine. And I get the privilege of being like an uncle to her. She's a princess and she's amazing, and I could go on and on about how great she is, but you know what? She's a little girl. When she doesn't get what she wants, she whines and cries. She interrupts adult conversation to say, look at me, give me attention. She's not full of wisdom. She has very little wisdom. And she does not have a heart submitted to Christ. She's a little sinner living in their house. All right? She is a little girl. But she's becoming something. She's becoming something. She's becoming a woman after God's heart. She's becoming mighty, a woman who's going to have great power and influence and lead others and be an agent for the kingdom of God. That's what she's becoming. I don't know, maybe you hear this message tonight, and if the band wants to start working their way up here, you can. Maybe the reason I say that is that maybe you hear this message tonight and you're hearing me and you're like, man, I'm a little girl. I'm not the fantasy woman. I don't have these signs showing up in my life showing that my heart is fully submitted to Christ. And guys, you might be hearing me and saying, I can't get that girl. I'm still a little boy in my behaviors. I'm not fully submitted to Christ. I don't have signs, and we're going to talk more about that next week. But if you're hearing me say that, look, I'm not going to tell you don't believe it. It might be true. But what I am saying is that you, just like this 4-year-old, you are becoming something. And what this message is about for you is not necessarily finding the fantasy girl or being ready for that fantasy guy, but it's about becoming the person that the person you're looking for is looking for. Becoming the woman that the man you're looking for is looking for. Or becoming the man who can get that girl, the man that the woman you're looking for is looking for. See, every moment that we live is training for a future moment. You're in college because you're training to be a professional. You're in your early career because you're training to be an expert in your field in the future. And what we don't realize, like it or not, is that most of us are training to be a wife and a mother. And most of us guys are training to be a husband and a father. And so what are you training? How well are you training? What kind of father and husband are you training to be? What kind of mother and wife are you training to be? But if you recognize that every moment is training for a future moment and that you're becoming something, then you can hear this message and you can recognize that in order to have that 0% divorce rate, in order to have that fantasy marriage and to be that fantasy girl, I need to submit myself to Christ. And when I submit myself to Him and I do what He says, I look at this book, the Bible, and see what He says is best for me, and I believe that He knows me better than I know me, and He knows what's best for me, then these signs of discipline, of wisdom, of putting others above myself will start to show up in my life. And so I invite you tonight, man, Jesus, if you're feeling, you might hear me and you might hear me say, maybe you are a little girl, and I don't want you to feel shame, because shame is never from God. Guilt, yeah. Conviction, yeah. But shame is never from God. See, shame is a weapon that the enemy uses because he wants to separate you from other people, isolate you, and rip your life apart. So if you have that shame, I want you to wad it up like a piece of paper and throw it in the trash and leave it behind you. And just give yourself the opportunity to get to know this Jesus better, because all those things that are in your mind that are telling you I'm not there yet, He died for those things. And He knows those things, and he decided to give everything for that. And so if you're interested, if you're like, man, I want to become the fantasy woman, then come talk to somebody tonight. You saw Gabby up here. You saw Kaylin up here. You saw Carlos and Andrew up here, guys. Come talk to somebody, and let's talk about what does it look like to submit your heart fully to Jesus. And the last thing I want to say before I hand it over to these guys is, one thing that may be holding you back is that you're thinking, I'm not quite ready to go to Jesus because I got some things I need to straighten out first. I haven't been living right, and I need to get some of those things cleaned up before I go and present myself to Him. And if you think that, you're believing a lie. Because the reality is that we don't get cleaned up to go see Jesus. We go see Jesus to get cleaned up. So I'm going to pray, consider that. And then we're going to sing some songs. And if you need to talk to somebody, come and talk about it. Let's talk about what it looks like to be fully submitted to Christ. Lord Jesus, I just thank you for this night. I thank you for Wednesdays, Lord, the opportunity to gather and have a blast and study your word and learn truth and understand more about ourselves and who you created us to be. God, and I just pray for every woman in this crowd tonight that they would hear words of maybe truth, but also of grace and redemption and a future that is full of joy and purpose and meaning, that you would just empower every one of them to live out their hearts and their lives submitted to you, and that these signs would begin to show up in their lives, Lord. I pray for every young man in this room that he would look for these things in his fantasy girl. I pray that you would bring growth and that you would bring redemption in our lives as we go through this, God. And just thank you for the opportunity to gather together to sing songs of praise, that we can do it in a public setting and have no fear of any kind of punishment, Lord. We thank you for your grace. I thank you that you died for every single person in here whose actions aren't lining up with what they say they believe, whose sins are too bad to be able for them to work and redeem for themselves. I thank you that you came for that person, and what you did was enough for them. In your name we pray. Amen.